I was in church at St. Lucy's. It was in 1979 when I moved here, and at the end of Mass, the priest started reading announcements and information pieces and talked about a group that was working with senior citizens who were shut in, who couldn't get out. And I was just very moved by the thought. And I volunteered, and it was with the Racine Dominicans and their senior companion program. And that was when it all began. I knew it was the group I wanted to be part of. It was a very good experience, especially going to St. Louis for my canonical year formation and going to St. Louis University and studying there. My ministry has been connected with pottery, where I've done a lot of liturgical ware, which is like chalices and patens and incensers and candle bottles. A lot of um, Protestant um, ministers have purchased a lot of liturgical ware, and I've taught, and I've also done a lot of pottery sales. Well, of course, my immediate answer is that this pandemic will end and I can resume teaching at the nursing home that's here on campus, and I could start producing some pottery and some sculpted work for sale. My prayer for life is that we've been graced because we've been graced with knowledge of quiet and stillness forced on us by the pandemic, that we move now that things are beginning to open up with that place of quiet where we are in relationship with God and we bring it to our everyday life, our relationship with God. My life as a Racine Dominican for 25 years now has just been graced and filled with good. And I know that I've become the person I am because I'm a practicing vowed Racine Dominican, and I'm so grateful, very, very grateful. It's a good life.
At that time that I entered, we had formation classes with people who came before me. So, like Marianne McMahon and Diane Polkowski. And we studied classes, learned about the congregation, and just had some fun weekends getting to know more about religious life and community and Dominican spirituality. We also went on trips together. We broke into groups and either worked on Habitat for Humanity in the jails, in the orphanage, and other areas. Our host was Sister Jean Ackerman, and we had a good time. I started in elementary education and I worked in the inner city in Milwaukee. Some of the highlights would be that when I was in Montana, I did a lot of coaching, but my favorite was, I think, when I was the assistant coach to the boys' football team. It helped to have 7 brothers in my family, and we played a lot of football, tag football. When I was in Milwaukee as principal, I was subbing for first grade. We had one student who came in from recess one day and I was sitting on one of the little chairs, and he came running in and threw his arms around me and said, "Sister Pat, I'm going to be just like you when I grow up." And I said, "Oh, are you going to be a teacher or a principal?" And he looked me right in the eye and said, "No, I'm going to be a sister." And I just smiled and said to him, I said, "You know, Robert, 20 years from now, who knows? Maybe you can be affiliated with the sisters." Well, while prayer has been important, I really spent more time reflecting on all of the injustices going on in the world, and to pray for those and to be more conscious of what was happening in the world and how it affects the people around me and myself and the ones I love and the people I don't know, and how I was able to find my voice and to speak up for or speak out when I saw an injustice happening. Believe in yourself and what you can do and offer for others. Pray often and invite God to be with you. Have fun at whatever you're doing and laugh a lot.
I started out as an elementary teacher, and I worked at St. Rita's in Racine, and from there I went up to Holy Cross Kokana, and I really wanted to get a feel for something different, and I wasn't sure I wanted to continue in elementary education. So I took some time off and came down to Milwaukee and took some Spanish classes, and at the same time I was doing some tutoring at Bruce Guadalupe. And one summer I went to El Paso and taught adults English as a second language, and I really enjoyed teaching adults, and so I think that was my deciding point. I moved to Wendover, Utah, and that's where Sister Janet and Sister Jean had been working, and they said there was a need for somebody to teach English as a second language. So I worked with the Hispanics who worked in the casinos there, and there was an amnesty program going on at that time. And if they received 40 hours of English as a second language and U.S. government, then they would be able to receive their green card. And during that time, I helped over 200 of the people receive the green card. And to me, that I felt that was one of my greatest accomplishments. I just felt, I was able to help those people become a legal person in the United States. Okay, right now we are in the Racine Dominican Archives. And as we go around, we see lots of cabinets. And in these cabinets, there are lots of boxes. My work in the last couple years has been to go through every single box that has been in this archives. And I've gone through trying to weed out things that are not necessary in this archives, trying to get rid of duplicates. This year I accomplished is I have grouped all of this material into 10 major groups. And in this glass case, I have the last 8 sisters who have died. This statue in particular is almost a miracle statue. When Our Lady of the Oaks had the fire, this statue was at Our Lady of the Oaks, and somehow it survived the fire. So Mary Bede found it there yet in the sewing room area, in the burnt place, and she brought it back here. My prayer life is like when I first wake up in the morning, I always thank God for letting me be alive, for giving me another day in which to live for Him and to serve others. And I usually reflect on the scripture readings for the day. And while I'm walking, I usually, just enjoy nature. And I also say my rosary as I'm walking along. I do get a lot out of nature. Nature speaks to me, and I see God and in nature. And maybe that's why I love to take photos, because I see God's beauty in the photos, and I so much want to share that beauty with other people. So I take the photos, I make cards, and people can see, the beauty that's around us.
When I came into the community back in '93, I was put in a house of 3 other sisters, and Germaine was one of the 3 other sisters, and we hit it off right away. We just hit it off. We shared a lot of things in common, and just really enjoyed our relationship. And she mentored me mostly, and still does. She's been my mentor. Germaine is always asking me when I visit her at the Francis House, the Memory Care Center, how are her sisters? Germaine is just a love person. She just loves people. She loves life. And now at Francis House, the memory care facility where she's housed, she's entered into active ministry. Every time I go, mostly, she's with one of her community mates there, and she's ministering. And it's just very satisfying to see her. She seems very happy in her new place.
Well, I got involved with the Racine Dominicans when I was a little girl growing up. I enjoyed my school days because they made it interesting and fun, and you were learning at the same time. And another thing I liked is the fact that they were out on the playground, which I suppose they needed to be with the children. But for instance, if Sister Avita brought along her accordion, well, the children would gather around her on the playground and we would sing along. And I mean, recess was over way too soon when we had that kind of an experience. So, and I tended toward the Dominicans. I liked what I had been seeing from the time I started school and all the way through, and how positive and good they were. So I kind of followed them there. So then when it came to saying, I guess when I was quite young already, I was saying, I think I want to be a sister. I want to be one of those people that are teaching us. There were always the fun times also. There were quiet times, prayer times, and I mean, they were very special, unique kinds of experiences. I mean, to celebrate things like the way you celebrate it, for instance, Christmas Eve. I can remember that very clearly about how we had, the little nativity set and whatever all set up in the novitiate in our main room. And we had a special service around there. And it was just so touched. I know I was in tears. And the novice director came and said to me, "You okay? You feeling homesick or something?" I said, "No, no, no. This is just so beautiful. I want to just take this in." I met so many people. Just wonderful. It was a blessing for me. I'm sure that I received a lot more than I gave. At least I thought that way because it was just a lot of good, unique experiences. When I'm answering the phone out there, I do not say Sister Dolores. I just say, Sienna Retreat Center, how may I help you? You'd be surprised how many people say, "Is this Sister Dolores?" I said, "Yes, this is Sister Dolores. I thought you retired." I did, but now I'm here as a volunteer, loving to do my work here. My prayer is consists mainly of scripture reading and reflecting and sharing on that, and trying as much as possible to be aware of what's happening around me, listening to the news, reading the newspaper, discussing with people, um, trying to see where is there something that I should be concentrating on, that I need to be a part of, at least by praying. And so basically, I try to do it with scripture and try to think, how do I connect scripture and my everyday living? How can I apply that to what I am going to do today? I'm very grateful for the many opportunities that I've been given by the community. And I don't think I would be where I was at if I didn't have community around me to help me in every step along the way.
When you do something, you want to learn from it, and you want to give and learn. And I think I am first and foremost a teacher, but I'm a teacher who's curious. And I will share what I have learned, but my curiosity has led me everywhere. And I am, first of all, a world citizen. I've learned that. I'm not an American. My mother and my father are not American. I'm not American. I am an American now, but first thing, my ministry, especially in this day and age, for all of us, it's world. I mean, you look at our communications, you look at our travels, you look at all the things. You have to be a world citizen. And I've been blessed enough to be able to travel around the world. I still teach English online to people in the Middle East. I have a few in Iran. I have a family in Iran, actually. And I have a young man, and now he's married, and he's in Jordan. And I have a couple of people, especially my Salah in Egypt. She's become a good friend of mine. And so I still work with them. And now, by the way, she writes requests for foundation money in English. So I'm pretty proud of her, but she's a good lady. And I know her family very well. So I still do some of that. Well, um, my hopes for our society is that we can become truly a bipartisan country. And if we don't, I think it will be the end of democracy in this country. My hopes for the area in Racine, I would hope that we would become a more diverse, a more acceptable and fraternal community in Racine and Racine County. Um, and for the community, I hope that the community can continue to live and to answer the call that unfold before us as a community as we move into the future. Um, for all of us, the older ones of us, to do that until we pass into the glories of eternity. And for the younger ones of us, that we continue to do that and to be, all of us to be patient with one another. Personally, my hope is that I would develop a deep spiritual life and come closer and closer in my relationship with God. Um, and to grow into the person that God created me to be. I'm a long way from that, but I work at it. So live life to the fullest, no matter whether you have a week to live, no matter whether you are a parent, no matter whether you are a little 5-year-old, live life to the fullest, um, and trust in the Creator and your Creator.
Oh, how did I find this community? Well, when I thought about entering a religious community, I remember telling my mother that I'm thinking about going to the convent, I said. And she said, well, where would you go? And I said to her, well, Racine, of course. And when I thought about it, it was my cousin that was here at the time. Her name was Sister Nicola. She left the community after, and she's now deceased. But she was such a happy person. She um, she just exuded joy, and it was obvious to me. I had had the School Sisters of Notre Dame for high school. They were rather a strict bunch, but there was something about Clarice or Nicola that was just so joyful that it became obvious to me that that's where I needed to try, and that's where I needed to look, and decided to go that route, and I'm glad I did. I entered a community that was basically teachers, and so I thought, well, I'm going to be a teacher. I didn't do much of that. And it's not that I didn't choose to do it, but it just seems other opportunities or other things came up without my thinking about it much. But when I entered the community, if I would have thought that's the route my ministry would take, there would have been no way I would have imagined it. And it sort of just happened. You sort of walked into it, and I met wonderful people along the way. Um, I have friends from St. Catherine's when I was principal there that I still communicate with and talk to, and I've kept connections to the people that I knew in those places, and it was a wonderful group of people. I've been able to go outside a great deal and walk outside and see nature in all of its beauty and recognize the connectedness there. And I marvel at um, some of the instincts in animals and like the way those geese take care of their little ones. Um, it's just been amazing. I don't know if this is just born into me, but from little, my mother said they had the hardest time keeping me inside. It's kind of in my nature to want to be outside. I think it's something that it pulls me, and I so enjoy the fresh air. It's still relatively fresh most days. I know we've got a lot of pollution, but it's still um, pretty good to breathe most days, and I find that very refreshing. If you ever had to doubt that there's a power beyond us, just watch some of these creatures.
Father, I abandon myself into your hands. Do with me what you will. Whatever you may do, I thank you. I'm ready for all. I accept all. Not only your will be done in me and in all creatures. I wish no more than this, O Lord. Into your hands I commend my soul. I offer it to you with all the love of my heart, for I love you, Lord, and so need to give myself, to surrender myself without reserve, with boundless confidence, for you are my Father.
While out on mission, we always had a cook, but often we had to step in and help because things change so rapidly. That's the kind of experience I've had kitchen up until now would be just stepping in to help out. And right now I step in on the days that they need extra help. And it was not only a way of getting things done, but a way of getting people getting to know them in a different way because you're working closely with them and sharing feelings and things like that. Of course, that's what good friends are for. Listen to be a part of the world around you. Be willing to jump in and take and do something, but listen to the wisdom of the time. Don't isolate yourself. Keep yourself open to what could be new in your life.
As a child, we had a bakery, and always the sisters got for Sunday very special bakery, and oftentimes I was elected to bring it. So The sisters got to know me and I got to know them. I started out as a teacher. Then I became a principal and I stayed in that job in various places. I would say that my experience was very good. I never had any real setbacks. My last place was Fowler, Michigan. I had never been on a farm. I don't think I had ever seen cattle. And I was thrown into the midst of this farmland where the kids all took the bus and many times had manure on their boots. It was probably one of the more difficult places because I had to close it down, and that was very difficult. We were very much involved in the whole justice thing in Milwaukee. Just last week or the week before, they reminded me when they went back and talked about the Ernest Lacey case because he was killed. And we just protested and marched the streets, and I think that many of the Catholics were shocked at the two of us. They just didn't expect us. And even the mayor of the city came to talk to me and asked me, "Do your superiors know what you are doing?" And I said, "Yes, I could bring one to talk to you." Mr. Udy, who was in charge of maintenance, built them and he put the soil in and he turned them over to me. And that gave me that sense of working in the earth and making things beautiful. It wasn't really a hobby for me either. I really felt I was doing a service for the community. So that is really my pride and joy.
I want to read a short story about music. In my family, love for music began with my mother, who is a pianist. Music and dancing seemed to be the entertainment for many in our family. I learned to play the saxophone when I was in high school. What a thrill it was to join the band and also play and march with the marching band. After attending 2 years of high school, I left home and joined the Racine Dominicans. There, Sister Cordula interested me in taking piano and organ lessons. This was a great help in my 40-some years as a teacher and organist. In the early 1990s, Sister Agnes Lynch and Sister Esther Zamblin, both professional violinists, encouraged some of our sisters to join them, and so we began an orchestra. A list of some 20 retired or nearly retired sisters joined and learned a bit about different instruments. We then called ourselves the Jubilars. I was very excited to be one of this group, but time and age changed many things. Some sisters had arthritic fingers. Others needed more support and had to discontinue. And some found it too difficult to keep the pace. But we did not stop. It was about the year 2010 when 10 of us got together to continue playing an instrument. We enjoyed what we had begun, and we called ourselves the Siena Music Makers. Going ahead to 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic. No more practices together for many, many months. We are all anxious to get back to our Monday evening practices and hopefully return to our monthly schedule of entertaining our neighboring assisted living and nursing home residents. Wish us the best. Thank you.
What's your secret to living these first 100 years?
Follow directions.
I think I'm in trouble. What would be the second most important thing?
Follow directions.
You must be a teacher.